Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to this HBAR update. Many of you have requested for me to cover HBAR, so we are going to take a look at the price chart in the immediate short term as well as the bigger time frame perspective, right? So without me running my mouth too much, let me actually get into the price chart. So the first thing that we can see on this price chart is something that I've been covering recently. Obviously, some of you are watching the channel for the very first time, so I'm going to go ahead and show you the bottoming structure that we have right here, which is something like this here, right? So basically, the structure goes something like this. You have prices crashing to the downside, and then you find somewhat of an initial support right here. Before you even break that support level here, you have somewhat of a rounded shaped like a recovery before you get rejected one more time close to that area which you initially found support, right? So you go down again, and you have somewhat of a rounded kind of a structure recovery right here. Now, it depends on the price that you are on. Some of these recoveries can even go again to the top of the range. But in most cases, really, you see the price getting like rejected somewhere here with a very sharp rejection and eventually sharply recovering to the upside here. And this sets your bottom right here. So let me go ahead to the HBAR price chart here and quickly illustrate what I'm talking about. So on this HBAR price chart, we can clearly see that we have prices crashing to the downside here. You find your initial support. And then after finding your initial support, you break that support here. You have somewhat of a rounded shape like recovery, right? Before you even get rejected one more time here, forming another low here in somewhat of a rounded shape like structure before the massive rejection that you have. This is the final sharp rejection that you get, and then eventually you recover, right? And then you are looking for price to continue to the upside. So basically, this is the structure that we have here. If I move this diagram here, you can see that it's really identical to the sketch that I was talking about. So what I'm going to do here is to show you examples across the markets to see how the structure has actually worked in the past, right? So this is Cardano. Back then in 2018, you can see the same structure basically here. We are crashing to the downside, and then we find our initial support. Before we break that support here, we recover back to that, initial support that we had before we get that massive rejection that we were talking about here. And then you may set a low, or sometimes you don't even set a low, but this one finally comes off, and then that marks the low of the price chart, and then you continue moving to the upside. So if we would move this right here, you can see that it's almost identical to what we were looking at with the HBAR price chart. This is not the only example. We can take a look at Quant here. This was back then in 2019, so you can see the same structure here. You've been crashing to the downside. You find initial support here. You get rejected. Look at this here. Get rejected one more time. You go for another low here, which is round shaped kind of, right? And then you eventually get that massive rejection, which says the low. You continue to the upside. So let me quickly move that here. You can see that we have basically the same structure that we were talking about on the HBAR price. So this is not the only example. We can take a look at this one here. This is storage back then in 2018. Same structure really. You can see your crash here. You initially find support before you lose that support level, get back to test it, right? And then you have another rejection here, which usually sets a new low before you head for that massive crash here. You continue to the upside. So this is the same structure one more time. Let's move it and see what we have here. You can see this sketch is basically the same thing that we drew on the HBAR. Now, this is not the only example as well. We can also take a look at it. We can find it on IOTA. We can also find it even on Ethereum, although this one didn't really set a new low with the final shakeout that it had, right? But I think we have another example here, which is Ocean Protocol. Now, this is a recent example. This is between May 2022 and December 2022, right? You can see also it takes a very long time. So you have your initial crash here. You have somewhat of an initial support here before you go to the downside. You backtest that support level, get another rejection, have a rounded shaped kind of a recovery before you have that sharp rejection here. You continue to the upside, and then you can have that structure that we were talking about. Now that we have determined how usually the structure works in the crypto space, I think it's really safe here to go ahead and say that, you know what, the bottom for this price set is already in. And if the bottom is in, what else are we looking for? We are looking for upward price momentum here. And do we have any signs that we are going to have continuation from where we are, and we are not going to be setting a new low here? I'm going to go ahead and show you the structure that we have. A very common structure, but a very bullish structure at the same time. So what you can see here is you can see prices crashing to the downside. We eventually break out of that here. We backtest it, and it seems that we have a successful backtest because you can see that the price is continuing to set higher highs here. But we can also come up with something like this at the bottom here. We can also draw another trend line here, and we form up something like a falling wedge. Now, this is one of the most bullish structures that are there in the market, because the specific pattern is with a success rate of about 66% to go ahead and reach the price target. And in this case, the technical price target would be something like close to, maybe 10 cents or something like that. From where we are, it's almost like another 100%, but that's amazing in the immediate short term, obviously. But I wouldn't be surprised if I see the price even continuing higher. But here, when I take my Fib retracement tool from the very top here of the price chart here to the very bottom here, I can see that there is no meaningful resistance on the price chart all the way up to something like 16 cents or so, right? But this is just the lowest Fib retracement level. The common suspects where you get big rejections are something like the 0.5 or the 0.618 Fib retracement level, and that's something like 30 and 36 cents respectively, right? So I think there is huge opportunity here with HBAR in the short term or even in the longer run, because I mean, this is really a minimalistic approach here. From this area to this here, you're looking at something like a 2x. When you go to like this 0.618, that's something like a 6x. I mean, these gains are not small gains. Really multiplying your net worth like by 6 is something that is amazing. But as I already said, this is just a minimalistic approach. There is even more potential on this price chart, which we'll talk about in the coming updates. But for now, this is pretty much what I had today. And if you like the content, don't forget to tap the like button, share the video with your friends and family, subscribe to the channel if you can. But obviously, none of what I say is financial advice. You should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say, all right? And with that being said, see you on the next one. Take care. Bye.